This time on Five from the Archive, I am as pleased as punch to welcome Shelley Vandegrift to come and talk about herself, her images, and her journey in photography. Shelley is a great supporter of Camversation and someone whose work I've admired for a long time. Thank you very much, Shelley. I really appreciate you coming along today. And the reason I really like your photography, and I know you've been part of Camversation for ages, and you're a great supporter, and you present all kinds of wonderful things on Camversation as well. So I feel like I know you already quite well. But lots of people watching may not necessarily know a great deal about your background and about how you came into photography yourself, because I know you as a real creative talent. And I know that you're great at editing and also using that to the best of its effects, if you like.
Thank
But
you.
I don't know much more about the sort
Sure.
of pre-photography Shelley. So I'm interested if we could have a little bit more about your background before we go into your life
Certainly.
from the archive, please, Shelley.
Yeah, certainly. My father was a ship's captain, and the man was brilliant. I wish I'd gotten a third of what he had because he taught himself trigonometry. This was how bright he was, but he was infinitely curious. He photographed, he painted, he drew, um, he made furniture, and I was the baby by 10 years. So it was almost like being an only child. And I got fascinated by the things he was fascinated by. So I think I was 10 years old. He took away my bedroom and made me move in with my sister, who was 10 years older, as I said, and turned my bedroom into a dark room. He gave me a camera. I started shooting, and I would develop in the darkroom in our house and just fell in love with it. And I too drew and painted and all those sort of things. So I loved it. I photographed all through my growing up years. I got to college, and there was no way I could afford film and processing. I did a little bit in the college darkroom, but pretty much set it aside. I ended up not majoring in anything artistic. I majored in business and went into a career as I was a CPA, which is a chartered accountant in London, and focused on create my creativity on business, on how to solve problems, how to design systems that would fix a certain problem, that sort of thing. Probably when I was, oh gosh, I think it was about 2008 when, when digital really got popular. By that time, I had learned so much about computer systems. I love them. I am such a geek that when I first started working with computers, it really irritated me that I didn't understand how they worked.
Yeah.
So I went out and learned how to build them.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Yep. And so with digital coming on, it was blending the two things I love the most: technology, computers, and photography. So I started getting back into it and really loving it. Had no intention of going as full force into like teaching and all that as I have. Um, but it was just fascinating to me to work on images on the computer. And honestly, most people like to spend their time on capture. I'm my happiest at the computer working on images I've already captured.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I
Um,
suppose that comes from that background of being a problem solver, creative problem
yes.
solver, because you taking the image is only part of the journey then, isn't it?
Right. Right. And I'm one of those people, you hear a lot of folks say that they kind of plan their shots or they go out with an intention of what they're going to capture. Mine is purely gut. Something catches my eye, I take it, and then later I create something out of it. Yep,
It's really
that's
fascinating. Yeah.
yeah.
And is it the case then when you're following your gut that you might take a variety of images and then get home, put them all out almost, and then sort of see where you go from that point?
Exactly, exactly. I'll sit and look at them, and I don't ever get rid of anything because I can't tell you how many times I go back every so often just to kinda clean up my catalog and look through stuff, and I'll see something that didn't really register when I took it, and I'll go, "Oh, I could do this with that." And so it's like a little treasure trove to go back and find the things that now have a new possibility. Yeah.
And I suppose as your skill set has developed over the years, this is why they
Yes.
always say don't throw away any digital files, don't they? Because it's not
Yep.
only that the technology is advanced, but actually the skill sets that we all have advanced as
Exactly.
well. Yeah.
Exactly. And my creativity is truly a journey. And you'll see that when I share my images. For the longest, I was a representational
Mm.
photographer, trying to master all the rules and get the equipment right and all that. And then, honestly, probably with COVID,
Mm.
I started experimenting and playing. And I've just gone a long distance away from where I started, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think if not, then we run the risk, we as photographers, we run the risk of becoming quite staid, don't we? Quite stale,
Yes.
sorry,
Yeah.
excuse me. Quite sort of rooted in our environment and rooted in what we know how to do and what we know how to do well and what we've always done well. I think it's harder to
Exactly.
push through that.
Yeah.
And it
And
is.
I find that the joy is really in the trying something new, doing something different, and not being stuck in a single box. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. I'm really looking forward to this. And just as a bit of a pretext, I have
Yeah.
not seen Shelley's images before we before we started recording, so I'm quite excited. It's great. Okay.
Great.
Shelley, thanks so much for sharing your first of the five. I'll pass over to you to talk us through this one. Thank you.
All right. Great. As I said, I started off as a very representational photographer, and my first real awakening was when I took a class with Lori Klein and was introduced to infrared. And infrared has just been so critical in my journey because it made me see the world differently. When I looked through the viewfinder, things didn't look like they did representationally. And so it started tapping into that more creative aspect. And this is one of my very favorite infrared images I've ever taken. It was at a place here that's very known by photographers called Bosque del Apache in New Mexico. It's a nature preserve, really mostly a bird preserve, and the sandhill cranes and snow geese winter over in Bosque. So when you go out there, it's usually in December and incredibly cold. Everybody's all bundled up and lined up along the lake edge
Yeah.
with their cameras on tripods, aiming this way for the sandhill cranes that are flying in. And I was standing there, and I don't know what made me. I had my infrared camera. It was the first time I was going to try it for something like this. And I just happened to turn to the left when they were all looking right and saw this tree.
Mm.
And it just captured me because the infrared made it just stand. I call this image the sentinel because it
Mm.
looks like the tree is guarding over all these lovely snow geese.
It does.
Um, yeah.
Absolutely stunning shot. And to see this, I suppose it was looking the opposite direction because you didn't want to take what everybody was taking that got you
Right.
this one.
Right. Yes. I was looking around because I didn't have a long enough lens, honestly, to catch the sandhills. And I thought, let me see what else I can do. And I looked the opposite way, and there was that tree.
Yeah. I'm not going to talk too much about processing because we know you are a superb processor, and this is more about your pictures rather than your processing. When you are looking at infrared images like this, what kind of
Yes.
things are you doing to give it this really powerful, dramatic look? Because there is often, can often be the case that infrared can be a little bit flat to start with, can't it?
Yes. It can. By its nature, it is very flat, lacks much contrast. So you really have to spend some time boosting the image, adding contrast back in. I often will come in, and in this case, it's black and white, so I don't have to do as much, but I'll come in and lighten the tree a bit so that it will be the focal point. I'm big on manipulating tonality to direct the viewer's eye. And in this case, I wanted you to just be absorbed by that tree and then travel out into the other areas. But yes, absolutely. You need to boost contrast.
Mm.
You need to tweak your whites and blacks
Mm.
to get a good monochrome infrared image.
Super. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. This is when COVID hit, and I started into an entirely new journey. I got much more creative. And this is an infrared image. These are all infrared images that I've combined. So I was still focused on the infrared, but I wanted to start creating worlds out of my imagination. I'm fascinated by dead trees. I have no idea why, but I am definitely fascinated by them. And birds. The background on this was actually a partial solar eclipse.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and I picked it up with this, and because of the way the corona was doing, it gave it this kind of weird feeling, and it just added something to the image. But this is the start of my departure from straight photography.
This is what I have in my mind when I think of your photography, this kind of image, which tells
Yeah.
a real story with such nuanced details as well. Absolutely
Oh, thank
outstanding.
you, thank
And I
you.
think the
Uh,
corona works so well because it's almost like a burnt tree, isn't it?
yeah,
Almost. Almost.
yeah, almost, yeah. I love creating stories for people to just figure out their own interpretation. I find that really fun to do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And you'll notice one of the comment, this is when I also started using textures over composites to give it a cohesive feel.
Mm, mm. And it adds depth throughout the entire image, doesn't it, with the textures?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. Thank
it
you.
does. Thank you. So I started venturing out of infrared. Part of this is an infrared image, and part is color. I took the photograph of the red-capped cranes in Japan on Hokkaido. I took the moon was a strawberry moon we had one time up on the East Coast, up in Cape Cod. The snow down here is actually an infrared picture of a river that I brought in and made white to make it look like the snow. I didn't like the snow that was actually in the bird picture. The clouds are an infrared image of clouds, and then, of course, I added on a texture that gave these little snowdrop elements to the image. And one of the things I love about this is when I start, I have no idea where I'm going.
Yeah.
None. I just start pulling pieces and thinking, "Oh, this might work with that. Let's give
Mm,
that a try." And play. And so that's how I came up with this. I always thought they looked like they were singing to something,
mm. Yes.
and that's why I put in the moon. Yep.
And the interesting thing that you mentioned about using infrared to create infrared photograph of water to create snow, that
Yep.
must be so much experience that you're bringing to this as well, Shelley, because that wouldn't be the first place I would think about to go and
Yeah.
create snow. So
Yep.
it's all of that kind of experience that helps you to create
Yeah.
these composites as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. The more you play, I'm a big believer that I tell students all the time, if you don't get it right away, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Just play because through that play is where you will learn the most and develop your own style and develop your skill at putting things together.
And with this one, with these, because you are compositing so many images together,
Yeah.
is it the case that when you are taking the elements of the image, is it that you walked past some water and said, "I'm going to photograph that because that's going to be great in the future," and then
S-
you bank them?
Sometimes, sometimes. As a matter of fact, I have in Lightroom, you can have collections. I have a collection set called Composite Pieces. And under it, I have sub collections for water and people and
Mm,
critters and that sort of thing. And then I'll go look through there when I think I'm going to do a composite and see what I might pull in.
yeah.
Then, if I don't find something I really like, I'll search for other images. But yeah, I do lots of times take things for a composite. Sometimes I just take them because it catches my eye.
Yeah, thank you. Outstanding.
Yeah.
I've never seen this image. I'm quite taken by it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's one of my favorites,
Mm,
actually. So again, infrared, mostly infrared in this image. And I wanted to do something I was thinking about. This is one case where I actually did have an intent before I started working. I wanted to do something with that tree. And I was thinking about climate change and what's happening to the landscape and how trees are really the source of our oxygen, of so much holding the soil in place so we can grow things, lots of different things. I wanted to do something that expressed that tree as the source of our good existence. And so I I took this image I had taken it's really 1, 2, 3, 4 infrared images and a texture.
Wow.
I took the tree in Delaware. I took the grassy field. I can't remember where I took it, but somewhere in the farm. I think it was in the up in Washington State in the Palouse, if you've
Mm.
heard of that.
Yes, yeah.
And then this little stream I also took in Delaware, and I thought, put the tree with the stream coming out of it, water being equated with life. And that's how I assembled this one, and I call it the source.
Mm. And also, the notion of it being taken from different environments is quite powerful. It adds to the weight of the image, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
And about how
yep,
important that is.
yeah. It's one of my very favorites. I love this
Absolutely.
image.
I
Yeah.
don't know how you picked.
It's not always easy. It
Yeah.
just kinda comes to you as you're working on it, and I will sometimes create 15 different versions before I find what really resonates for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I've gone even further afield from representational, and this is something I've started doing the last couple of years. It's taking I love abstraction, but I want some component of reality in it. It works best for me if I have something in the image that is recognizable, real, and then it's enhanced by abstract components. And so I had this image of this model that I took at one of our workshops here in Santa Fe that I'd always loved, but really hadn't found anything to do with it. And so I started thinking, she looks like she's dancing. I'm gonna have some motion in there, which I repeated her to get the motion. And then I just started adding other images to it and shapes and textures and clouds down here to create a smoky feeling, just to give it that surreal, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but that surreal feeling as she's moving through time. And someone said to me, I don't see how the sharp edges up here blend with the softness down here, but that's part of my story in this image is that she's moving from the structured and the restrictive in life to the more ethereal.
Mm, mm. They're
Yeah.
more open. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because when you said that you took this as part of Santa Fe workshops and it sat there in that archive for a while, what
Right.
prompted you to then start to make this later? Because obviously at some point you would have sat down and gone, I've got a great idea and I'm going to
Yeah.
use that image. What was the catalyst for that, if you can remember?
Yeah. Honestly, that's why I really feel like you need to go back through your catalog, right? Because what I was doing was going back through my model images. I thought I had an idea that I wanted to create an abstract with a human being in it. And I went back and was going through my model images, and this one had been one that I really wanted to do something with. And I saw it and I thought about dancing, about movement, etc. And that's why I picked this one and started working with it. I'm also a big supporter of not copying other people's work, but looking at other people's work on a regular basis because I think what it does, what you create is going to be created through your own vision. It's not going to be the same.
Mm,
But looking at other people's work, people you admire, gives you ideas, gives you an inspiration. It may be a color, it may be some structure in the image, it may be anything in that image that will give you an idea of something to do on your own. None of my images look like the people that I follow and watch,
yeah.
but every time I look at their images, I get inspiration.
Yeah. And it shows that idea that we can all learn from each other and we should all be
Absolutely.
learning from each other all of the time.
Yes. Yes. I know there are people who think that's kosher, but truthfully, how did you learn anything?
Yeah.
You learned it by emulating and following and watching. And it's the same sort of thing, I think.
Yeah, what an outstanding shot. Thank you. And
Mm,
not a shot, actually. What an outstanding image. What an
thank
outstanding piece
you.
of art. Thank you. Can I ask you whether this is a bit of a horrible question? So maybe I should have checked this first, but do you consider yourself a photographer? Do you consider yourself a photographic artist? Do you consider yourself a creator? Where do you see yourself? And that's not a trick question in any way.
No,
I just wonder whether, as you've developed over the years, you've changed that identity.
that's a right on point
Mm.
question because when I started off, I considered myself a photographer, solely a photographer. As I've started doing more of this, I really consider myself more of a lens-based artist
Mm.
because all of these are photographs, but I've just taken them and manipulated them and put them in a form that tells a different story,
Mm.
creates something from my imagination. Actually, Mark, you'll probably enjoy this texture right here
Yep.
is bark off of a tree.
Yeah.
These back here, it's a forest I took with a little ICM image in
Yeah.
infrared, the little lines up and down. These were actually, this is where I depart from photography. This is just a square shape that I created in Photoshop behind her. This is a
Mm.
cloud, and this is just the way the color went
Mm.
on that.
Mm.
But those are mostly photographs. So I still consider myself a photographer, but more and more I'm really relabeling myself as a lens-based artist.
I think that's a great definition as well, by
Yeah.
the way. I think that's an
Oh,
absolutely
thank you.
fantastic definition. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty.
And that's your final one, isn't it?
Is it? It is.
Oh, goodness me. That went quickly, did it? Oh, I'm
It
so sorry.
did.
I didn't mean to ask so many questions, Shelley. I just really enjoy your images.
That's quite all right, Mark. I appreciate it. This is an artist who I started following on Instagram, Katinka Kabali. I hope I'm pronouncing that. But I am just fascinated by her work. And she too is primarily a lens-based artist. She does do some additional alternative things to composite some of her images, but her work is just fascinating to me. She does such beautiful things. And again, like me, she uses a bit of reality. You have a bird here and then a woman there, and allows you to really create your own stories from her work. But I find it fascinating. She is really prolific on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, I would recommend you follow her because she just does really lovely things. Look at this one with
Mhm.
the skull and the door behind it and etc. This is just really fascinating work to me.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much for that recommendation. I'll pop
Yeah,
their
you
website
bet.
on the screen for everybody as well.
Great. Thank you.
Shelley, thank you so much for coming along. And I know we've worked together for
Thank you.
ages, but it's been so nice to see images that
Oh,
demonstrate
thank you.
that progress and that development as well. And I can really
You.
see where you're taking it
Yeah,
and where you're
where
going.
I've gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fascinating. It really,
Yep.
really is.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for this, and I look forward to seeing you back on the Camversation community at some point. I know you come to lots of things anyway.
Yeah. I do. I do. I love conversation. So thank you, Mark, for making that happen.
Oh, appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
see you there. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.